Hello, everyone. This is Edward Paulantonio, and I am here doing my very first YouTube video for a channel that I've just started. And I hope to make this a series of videos that help teach better financial management. Um, this is something I already do semi-professionally, and it's something I help my friends and family and a couple of people that have no relation to me. I just get paid to help coach them through financial choices in life and help them manage their budgets and help them keep better books and help them make a little bit of extra money on the side, how to help them invest it wisely and help them pinch pennies here and there. One of my life's mottos is when it comes to money, life is a game of pennies. And I plan to win. I hope you guys plan to win too. So watch my series if you enjoy it. Please hit the like button and subscribe. If you hate it, please hit the like button and subscribe anyway, because that'll make me more money either way. One of the things I've heard recently is that bad publicity is better than no publicity at all. So I'll take it any way I can get it. But you guys are more than welcome to watch my videos, and I encourage feedback. Any kind of tricks that you guys have up your sleeves that I don't include in my videos, please include them yourselves in the comments. Any kind of information that you think I'm presenting that is not as accurate as it could be, I want you guys to challenge it, and then we'll grow together as a team. I'll go back and do more research. I'll look at what you guys have presented, and then we'll get better collectively. Today's video is all about budget making. Budgeting is one of the most basic concepts of personal financial life that there is, and you'd be amazed at how many people completely neglect budgeting in their life. You'd be amazed at how many people just don't even have a budget. And most people have a general idea of how much money they're making and bringing in, and then how much money they're spending. But very few have precise ideas of exactly how much money they make, exactly how much they're spending. Most people tend to estimate in a manner that is, it makes it feel like they're doing better than they are. And so when the hits come and they're inevitable, then they are left unawares and unprepared for those financial problems. One of the classic examples I give people is with car expenses. Now, cars are something that everybody overlooks the expenses of. It's just one of those, most people think, when they're driving a vehicle, they're thinking, oh, all I'm spending is the gas money to get from point A to point B. Your friend asks you for a ride, you're like, hey, throw me some gas money. In reality, your friend isn't covering the cost of that trip if they're just giving you gas money. All they're doing is covering the gas money from that trip from A to B. They're not covering the fact that you have to replace your tires. They're not covering the fact that you have to do oil changes. They're not covering the fact that you eventually one day will have to buy a new vehicle. And the fact that you have to buy a new vehicle is a steady, finite, calculable cost that you can manage as long as you are paying attention to it. If you spend $10,000 on a car, that's almost new, and you drive it into the ground, well, one day you're going to have to spend $10,000 on another car. And if you haven't been setting aside small portions of money for every mile, eventually it'll get to the point where one day your car just breaks down, and you're like, oh my God, I gotta spend $10,000. What am I going to do? Well, you don't want to find yourself in that situation. You want to have that $10,000 already set aside because you were prepared for that cost. So when it comes to budgeting, there's two halves. There's the top half and the bottom half. The top half of the budget is all of the money coming in, and the bottom half of the budget is all the money that's going out, all the money that's expenses. Just like a business profit and loss statement, for those of you who are familiar with it. I was a business manager for many years, and profit and loss analysis is something that most business managers have to master. And so one of the good things about being in a situation where I've had to manage, I've been fortunate enough to manage everybody else's money. I haven't never been fortunate enough to have my own really to manage, but looking forward to the day when we both get there. But as I look at these other profit and loss statements, one of the good things about it is they've got everything on there, like down to taxes and insurance and everything that you could possibly have to pay for. It's in there, and so it teaches you to think in a way in your personal life to include each of those items when it comes to budgeting. So when it comes to budgeting, when you want to start with revenue, all the money that's coming in. Now that can be salary, that can be wages. This is going to be different for every person, so I'm not going to go through each and every single possible item, but bonuses, incentives, those kind of things that come in. You can count tax refunds. You know, there's a way to, basically what you'd want to do is you'd want to average the tax refunds that you've gotten over the past couple of years, and figure, as long as you're making roughly the same, probably you're going to get roughly the same amount of taxes back. Actually, you're probably going to get more now because, like I said, I don't get into the political landscape on these videos, but one of the recent changes is the standard deduction for most Americans has gone up. Probably won't affect the richest of the rich, but it will certainly affect the bulk of the lower and middle class echelon in America. We'll all get more money. I'm definitely in that zone. I'm definitely going to end up getting more money back just because my standard deduction is higher. So you can count your tax refund as income. You can count little things like it goes down to the penny. I mean, like I said, life is a game of pennies, right? So one of the things I earn income off of is I have a credit card that pays me 1.5% back on every dollar I spend on the credit card. And remarkably, I put most of my expenses on my credit card. So I usually have a credit card bill of about $2,000 a month. Now, if I'm getting 1.5% back, that's $30 every single month that I am earning, essentially, just by carrying that credit card around and using it. And I've even gone so far as to ask other people if I can pay for their items with my credit card, and then they give me cash back. That way I'm getting that extra point and a half just for spending money on that credit card. You can take it to the next level. We'll talk about credit cards in a different video, though. So those are some of the things that you can have as revenue. You can have, it's all over the place. Any kind of like EBT or food stamps, that counts as something that's coming in. It's paying for, or it's a reduction of your cost. You can do it either way. Any kind of supplemental income, any kind of disability, any kind of retirement that's coming in, all those would be good sources of revenue. You write down the item and exactly how much you make each month. And when you write this down, I recommend that you write these down conservatively. So if there's a bonus that you get every month and it has a range and you make anywhere from $500 to $1,500 a month, well, I would estimate on the conservative side. I would say, let's say you usually average somewhere between 800 and 1,000. I would ask you to write 800 down, because I'd rather you be pleasantly surprised. I'd rather you be over-prepared rather than underprepared for a financial problem. And then you go to the bottom half. Now, the bottom half is much bigger. The bottom half has an enormous number of things that you can pay for over the course of your life. And the challenge is to write each and every one of them down. Now, one of the things that I teach people to do is, as you come across an expense that isn't currently on your budget, that very moment, you take that expense, you figure out exactly how much it's cost you on average each month, and then write it down on your budget. Good examples of expenses are medical expenses. These are the classics. Food, I usually budget about $300 to $400 per person a month for food. You want to benchmark yourself. If you're living cheaply, you want to benchmark yourself for about $3-4 a meal. Now you can do better than that. You can eat ramen every day, or you can do considerably worse if you have a much larger budget. You can do, if you want to eat steak all the time, that's great. As long as you have the money for it, I applaud it. And then, of course, invite me over for dinner every now and then. Food expenses, car expenses, and like I said, within car expenses, you have gas money, you have repair costs, you have cost of replacement for the vehicle, and you have insurance, car insurance. You can set insurance on its own line separately if you'd like. Each of these can be a different line if you want. You can get as detailed with this as you want. Rent or mortgage for a household, property taxes and insurance. I include all the escrows in my mortgage costs, but you don't have to. Toiletries, laundry costs, purchasing new clothing, gifts. Gifts is a big one. You'd be amazed how many people spend enormous amounts of money on gifts for their friends, for birthdays, Christmas parties, stuff like that. But then they don't think about it, right? Because it's not one of those expenses that happens all the time. It just hits during the holidays. It hits real hard. But if you're prepared, you'll take the cost of the gifts that you purchase and you'll spread that out over the 12 months. And if you're really prepared, like my ex was, you'll make those purchases over the course of those 12 months so that you can get the best deals. That'll be one of those videos. I may even have her interviewed for an entire video, just because she did some things with frugal spending and couponing that blow my mind. Entertainment costs. Entertainment costs is a big one. Now, this is a variable one, and it's one that most people try to forget about, because you don't really want to think about money when you're having fun, right? You don't want to cut yourself short. If you go out on a cruise to the Bahamas, you don't want to be sitting there counting pennies. You don't want to sit there and be like, man, did I spend $18 yesterday on that tip for that waiter? I really don't have much to spend now. Now, you want to kind of forget about it while you're enjoying yourself. But while you forget about it while you're enjoying yourself, you still want to kind of have a general box that you fall within, and that's your budget for the entertainment costs. Medication costs, homeowners insurance, car insurance we mentioned before, power, utilities, things of those natures. So you want to write every single thing that you can think of down on a piece of paper, and then no matter how many things you write, I guarantee you there's going to be a couple things you miss, and that's okay, because I guarantee you there's some things that I am still not aware of, and then they come in and they hit me like a ton of bricks, and then I have to go back and recalculate and then readjust. And that's fine. That's just part of the game. So as those new expenses come in, weird things like homeowners association dues, and it only happens once a year, and you're like, oh man, I forgot all about homeowners association dues. That's all right. Then you take homeowners association dues, you go back to your budget. I recommend an Excel spreadsheet, and that way you can just plug it in there. It'll automatically, you can set it up so that it calculates your total, and it'll change the moment you add in a new line, and it's perfect. And then you can play all kinds of games mathematically with that. We may even do a session on that one day. And that's how you put together a budget. Now here's the trick. The top half number should be bigger than the bottom half number. At the end, you want to take all of your income and you add it together. And you want to take all of your expenses and you add those together. And you want to take your income and subtract your expenses from it. Now that number should be a positive number. And hopefully, if it is a positive number, you can take some of that money and either save or invest in yourself, in your own education and training, so that you can make more money. There's a lot of things that you can do with that money, but the important thing is that that number is a positive number. That is the whole purpose of doing a budget. If that number is not a positive number, then you have to readjust your budget to the point where it is. You have to get yourself to the point where that number is positive. And if that means making some cutbacks on some of your expenses, if that means maybe not taking that cruise that year, then that's just something you have to do eventually if you want to have good financial health. Guys, let's face it, we all have things that we want to do in life and we can't afford. And that's just the fact of life. Me, I would love to purchase a flying car. That's my dream. I want to have one of those. I think it's about $300,000-$400,000. No big deal, it's pocket change. I want to have a flying car, and I want to fly from everywhere I go. I want to just fly. I want to skip traffic entirely. I want to pick up my kids in a flying car and fly them around. I want to go to the restaurants and land on their helipad on the roof. I would love to have a flying car. Guess what? I can't afford a flying car. And that's the reason that I don't have a flying car. Maybe one day I will be able to get a flying car, but for right now, it's important that the top half number is bigger than the bottom half number. And guys, That's budgeting made simple. Please comment below if you have anything to add to that. If you have anything that you wanted to ask me, again, put those comments below. And, as I look at those, I'll address them and maybe even make additional videos around those topics. Thanks so much. I'll catch you guys next time.